Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Mimighoul deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck just got its second wave of support and it's absolutely crazy. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing a single copy of Mimighoul Master. You only need a single copy of this card in the deck because it's so easy to get to now with Mimighoul Throne. And this card is ability cannot be destroyed by battle by card effects while your opponent controls any face down monsters, or you control a Mimighoul monster other than this card. Also, if this card is normal or special summon, you can add a Mimighoul monster from your deck to your hand, extend another copy of Master, and during your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you can change a face down monster on the field to face of attack or defense, which is an awesome effect to be able to use this card so we can flip the Mimighoul's face up that we give to our opponent to activate their effects. We then play 3 copies of Mimighoul Dragon. Mimighoul Dragon is the most important Mimighoul and probably the most powerful in the entire main deck, and actually the best normal summon in the deck as well. And this card is an awesome effect that if this card is flipped face up during the main phase, destroy all face up monsters you control except Mimighoul monsters, but since our opponent's going to be controlling this card when it's flipped face up, it's going to destroy all of our opponent's face up monsters, and then we get control of this card, which is basically the entire gimmick of the deck, that it flips face up on your opponent's side of the field, they do an effect, and then we get them back. But this card also has the ability that during your main phase, you can special summon this card from your hand to your opponent's field in face down defense position, and if this card is normal or special summon, you can add a Mimighoul spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is such a powerful ability to be able to use to instantly normal summon this card out and get the exact Mimighoul spell or trap that we need. We then play 3 copies of Archfiend. Archfiend is definitely a 3 of as well, and such a powerful card to play in the deck. As if this card is flipped face up, your opponent draws a card, and then you have to send a card from your hand to the graveyard if it's flipped on the opponent's side of the field, which is an insane effect that we basically get to draw a card, and our opponent has to send a card from their hand to the graveyard, which is absolutely crazy. Then we get control of this card back. Also, this card has a crazy powerful effect that during your main phase, you can special summon this card from your hand to your opponent's side of the field and face down defense position, and if it's normally special summon, you can change a face down monster on the field to face of attack or defense, which is great so we can make our Mimighouls that we give our opponent go off. We then play 3 copies of Fairy. Fairy is such a powerful extender in the deck and really cool to be able to play in the deck. It's almost like a floodgate monster in the build, because this card is able to flip face up. This turn, you cannot activate the effects of monsters special summon from the hand, which is insane to flip this card up on your opponent's side of the field. Basically just lock them down from monsters special summon from the hand's effects. And also it has the ability during the main phase, you can special summon this card from your hand to your opponent's side of the field and face down defense position, or if you control a Mimighoul monster, you can special summon this card and face up to your side of the field, which is great to instantly get this card out on the field so you can make a R rank 1 plays. And then play a single copy of Mimighoul Slime. Slime is great in the deck as a 1-of. I actually consider playing this card at 2 in the deck, but I feel like 1 is really all you need because it's so easy to get to. This card has a great effect that if it's flipped face up, you can actually special summon a Mimighoul monster from your deck to your side of the field, which is a great effect to instantly get a Mimighoul onto our side of the field. And it's such a powerful effect to instantly get that card on the field, basically being like an E-Telly for the deck, that you basically hand this card to your opponent, it gets flipped face up, and then we get to special summon a Mimighoul, which is absolutely insane. Also, it's a pretty good extender because during your main phase, you can actually special summon this card from your hand to your opponent's field and face down defense position, or if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can special summon this card on face up position to your side of the field, which is great to instantly bring this card out to your side of the field, but it does require your opponent to have monsters on the field to special summon it out, which is why I feel like 1 is really all you need. And then play a single copy of Mimighoul Armor. Armor is pretty good in the deck because it helps you protect your Mimighouls from battle, which is why I play this card as a 1-of in the build, but you can also use this card as an extender in the deck and just an additional name to hand your opponent, which is really cool. And I really like the artwork of this card, and it's absolutely insane, which is why I like this card as a 1-of in the build. We then play 3 copies of Kashtira Unicorn. Unicorn is really good in the deck as a 3-up because it helps you deal with cards in your opponent's extra deck. And this card is basically a Cyber Dragon that if we don't control a monster, we can special summon this card to our side of the field. And during the main phase, we can actually add a copy of Kashtira Birth directly from our deck to our hand, which is a really powerful effect. And also, if your opponent activates a monster effect, you can actually look at your opponent's extra deck and if you do banish a monster from it face down. And since our opponent is going to be controlling the Mimighouls when they go off, it will actually make Kashtira Unicorn go off, so we can instantly get rid of a card out of our opponent's extra deck, which is why I really like playing this card in the deck. So it helps you just rip cards out of your opponent's extra deck while also playing a 2500 attack point monster, which is just really cool. But this card is a great tech card in the deck to be able to play. Basically just deal with your opponent's extra deck one card at a time. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is definitely a 3-up in the deck to basically just use this card to stop your opponent from touching the deck. We'd also play 3 copies of Nibiru. Nibiru is amazing in this build because it only deals with face-up monsters, which is absolutely crazy, so it doesn't really affect the Mimighoul monsters that are face down, which is absolutely crazy to be able to use this card in the deck to basically just break your opponent's board. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is really important in the deck as one to help us get to our copy of Dungeon. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is extremely important in the deck as a 1-up to basically just stop your opponent from hand trapping you while you're going in for all of your plays. We then play a single copy of Kashtira Birth. Kashtira Birth is searchable off your copy of Unicorn, and it just helps you constantly have a copy of Unicorn on your side of the field. Plus, it has the ability to normal summon a level 7 monster without tributing to your side of the field, and during your main phase, you can special summon one of your non-Exi Kashtira monsters that's banished or in your graveyard back to your side of the field, which is an insane effect. Also, if your opponent activates a spell card or effect, and you control a Kashtira monster, you can target 3 cards in your opponent's graveyard and banish them face down. Basically, just deal with your opponent's graveyard and their extra deck with your copy of Unicorn and this card. We then play 2 copies of Mimighoul Fork. Fork is really cool in the deck as a 2-up, but I feel like you really only need 2 copies of this card because Fork can actually search Fork. And this card lets your opponent pick one of 2 effects. You target a face-down monster that your opponent controls, and your opponent chooses one of the 2 following effects to activate, which is like a fork in the dungeon, which is really cool. And it has the effect that they either change it to face-up, attack, or defense position, or send it to the graveyard, and then we get to draw 2 cards since it was our monster, which is super cool about this effect. You can also banish this card from the graveyard to add another copy of Fork from your deck to your hand, which is why I only play 2 copies in the build, because you don't want to break with too many copies of Fork. We then play 3 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. Triple Tactics Talent is basically the same reason in this deck as your copy of Unicorn, because since your opponent is going to control the copy of the Mimighoul monster, if we get to flip it face up, a monster effect was resolved on our opponent's side of the field, so it makes your copies of Talent live, which is so cool about this card, and it's such a powerful card to play in the deck, so it lets you draw 2 cards, take control of an opponent's monster until the end phase, or look at your opponent's hand and choose a card from it and shuffle it in the deck, which is a great ability just to get some knowledge of what they're playing. We then also play 3 copies of Mimighoul Maker. Maker is really powerful in the deck. This card lets you reveal 2 flip monsters with different names from your deck, and your opponent randomly picks one of them to special summon to your side of the field in face down defense position. Then you can add the other to your hand. Then you can actually special summon a Mimighoul monster from your hand, which is a great ability. It basically gives your opponent a Mimighoul monster, and we get a Mimighoul monster, which is so cool. Also, if your opponent special summons a monster, except during the damage step, you can actually banish this card from the graveyard and then target a face down monster your opponent controls and change it to face up attack or defense position, basically helping us flip our Mimighouls up. We then play 3 copies of Dungeon. Dungeon is so powerful and just a crazy powerful floodgate to play in the deck, as it makes it so Mimighoul monsters you control that were not normal or special summoned this turn gain attack equal to their original defense, which is a really powerful effect to make some of our Mimighouls absolutely massive, like our copy of Dragon going up to 2,500 attack points or Archfiend going up to 19. This card also has a really cool ability that any player who controls a face down down monster cannot normal summon monsters, nor declare attacks with monsters that were special summoned this turn, which is a really powerful floodgate effect that this card actually has. Also, during your main phase, you can add a Mimighoul monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, which is a really powerful effect to instantly grab a Mimighoul that we want to hand to our opponent, or even our copy of Master just in case. So, that's it for these spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing a few, starting off with 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is definitely a 3-of in the deck to basically just stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. And then also play 3 copies of Mimighoul Room. Room is such a powerful card in the deck and just helps out so much in the build because it lets you special summon a Mimighoul monster from your hand or deck to your field, or in face down defense position to your opponent's field in defense position, which is a really cool effect to instantly just special summon a Mimighoul monster to your opponent's side of the field directly from your deck. You can also banish this card from the graveyard, then target any number of Mimighoul cards that you control and return them back to the hand so you can use their effects all over again. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get in to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with Giant Mimighoul. Giant Mimighoul is definitely a 2-of in the build because you want to be able to summon out 1 in the beginning of the duel and 1 to end the duel. This card is extremely powerful and actually my favorite Mimighoul card for its artwork alone. And this card has the ability that your non-XZ Mimighoul monsters can attack directly while your opponent controls a face-down monster, just helping you OTK your opponent with your Mimighoul monsters. Also, if this card is XZ summoned, you can add a Mimighoul card from your deck to your hand. You can also detach a material from this card and then target face-up cards on the field up to the number of face-down monsters your opponent controls and destroy them. And if you do, inflict 1,000 points of damage to your opponent for each card destroyed, doing burn damage, letting your Mimighouls attack directly, and being a searcher, which is why you want to play this card at 2 in the deck so you can summon out 1 at the beginning of the duel to be able to grab the exact card you need, and then 1 to end the game by swinging in directly with your Mimighoul monsters. Plus with Dungeon, this card goes to 3,300, which is absolutely massive. We then play 2 copies of Mimighoul Throne. Throne is extremely helpful in the deck as a 2-of because this card just helps you get to your copy of Mimighoul Master and lets you detach your material from this card and then special summon a Mimighoul Master from your hand, deck, or graveyard. And also during the main phase, quick effect, you can target a Mimighoul Master you control and equip this card to that monster's equip spell that gives it an additional 1,000 attack points. Then you can return cards from the field back to the hand up to the number of materials this card had, which is usually just going to be 1 material to be able to bounce, but it's really cool to be able to use this card to equip to your copy of Mimighoul Master to give it an additional 1,000 points and to instantly get it out on your side of the field. We play a single copy of Lyrilusk Robin. This card is great to control the normal summon, so you can basically just bounce cards off the field, and I really like this card in the deck, especially when you combine it with Dungeon to lock down your opponent. We can play a single copy of Assembled Nightingale. This is just so we can make our copy of Zeus so we can OTK or just board wipe the field. We can play a single copy of Downer Magician. Downer Magician is really good in the deck as a 1-of just to give Zeus an additional material. We then play a single copy of Zeus. Zeus is a great board wipe in the deck, especially since this is an XZ deck now. We then play a single copy of Typhon. Typhon is amazing in this deck. Just in case you go second, you can put it out on your side of the field, which is really nice to help you bounce cards off the field and use this card as a skill drain for 3,000 or higher attack point monsters. We play a single copy of Access Code. Access Code is great in the build as a 1-of to be able to just pop multiple cards on the field. Plus with Mimighoul, they swarm super easy, so this card is very easy to step into. We play a single copy of Nightmare Unicorn to spin stuff, 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix to pop spells and traps, a single copy of SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight is great in the deck, as this card helps you basically just use this card as a double interruption, but if you don't have this card, you can change it out for Nightmare Cerberus. We then play a single copy of IP Masquerena. IP is great in the deck as a 1-of to be able to step into SP or Unicorn during the opponent's turn. And then finally, we play a single copy of Relinquish Anima. Anima is really good in the deck as a 1-of because the majority of monsters we play are level 1, so this card is great in the build to basically just gobble up your opponent's monsters. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Mimighoul before, especially after the second wave of support, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's so fun to be able to play, and it's just how they basically flip effect monster decks should be played, and it's just so cool that you just constantly are handing your opponent mimics that are going to get really insane effects, and then we just get them back to make awesome cards like Giant Mimighoul. So that's going to be this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of our notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.